interrupt everything.
Nah, we've had a vacuum incident during a
Oh
previous
my god!
interview.
Oh my god!
It's very entertaining. Yes.
This is a cool place, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get distracted. Okay, I'll let you do
Remember
your
that
thing.
from the last.
Oh, you do? I overstimulated.
We'll probably talk about that. As
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host Valerie, coming to you from the 2022 Just for Laughs Moontower Comedy Festival. My sometime co-host, Miss Purrington, is resting at home. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our new column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy. Have you checked out our events page for live shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW? If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the survey. If you like the survey, send us a quick review and we'll share your review and promo your show on Instagram. Now let's get back to our podcast. With over 200 interviews since its launch in 2016, the podcast is your anthropology lesson in Austin comedy, bringing you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and we usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the comedy world as fascinating off stage as it is on stage. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, we are recording live on location at the Driscoll Hotel. Thank you so much to Omnipop for letting us chat with our guest for the second time. Last time we talked was at the 2017 Moontower Comedy Festival, and boy, was she has she been racking up the accomplishments since. One of the fun facts that I thought I would continue to bring to our audience is that she is a trained cellist. She's been on Modern Family, Veep, Comic Unleashed, Comedy Bang Bang, New Girl, and True TV's Fameless. In 2018, she was chosen as a JFL New Face. In 2019, she released her debut album, Sad Lemon, which debuted #1 on the iTunes charts. And she also competed in a 2019 Bring the Funny competition, where Jeff Foxworthy described her as the best defined comic voice of the competition. In 2021, she released her special La Vie à Rhodes, taped at the Rose Bowl. And she can be heard on the Netflix series A Tale Dark and Grim. She just released a beautiful short story about loss titled Lost Socks and Other Lost Things, and gotta admit, that one brought a tear to my eye. It was very, very beautifully written. And now for her second time, please welcome back Comedy Wham Presents our guest, Erica Rhodes.
Thank you. Hi. Great to see you again.
Yeah, it's 5 years. Can you
I
believe
can't
it?
believe it's been 5 years.
I know.
We were saying there's COVID years, though, and that doesn't really count.
Right.
So it's really been like 3 years.
Yeah. You've been very busy.
I guess. I mean, when you read that, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I've done some stuff. You know, like you forget what you've done.
Yeah.
But to me, the most impressive one was that you read that short story, because I feel like I've been veering more and more into writing, and so when people actually read what I write, I'm like, oh wow, thanks. That means a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
It was, you have been through a lot, not just professionally, but personally as well. And I think anybody listening has been through a lot of things, and that's not just with those two years that everybody is just coming out from.
That's true. Yeah. It's kind of fun with writing, because it's just so different than comedy, where you can. You can just be kind of more authentic in certain ways. At least I feel I can. Yeah. But I like doing both now. And actually, without COVID, I probably wouldn't have veered so much into writing.
Well, you were busy during COVID with releasing your special.
Too. Yes. Yeah.
Which I was talking. I was actually talking to your manager about this time capsule of specials that were taped at the Rose Bowl, and how we're going to look at that 10, 15 years down the road. Let's hope there's not another pandemic that throws us into that
Knock
situation.
on wood. Yeah.
But how it's going to be a moment in history that we say, look at what we were willing to do to perform and get our humor out to the masses.
Yeah, I was thinking that with my special, because it was challenging, to do it for cars, but I kind of think it might age in an interesting way, like in like 20 years, it might be like, oh, wow, that's something I did.
Yeah.
I did that. That's like kind of, and it will bring you back to that time, which I think we're already starting to forget. We're already forgetting the emotional implications and all the things that we felt during the pinnacle of COVID. We're already like, oh, let's move on.
Right.
But it just kind of brings you back in time. So it might be interesting just to see how it ages, the special.
So 2 years separated, you did your debut album and then you did a special. So it feels like those are big projects to have undertaken. I feel like I can ask you this because I feel like you're really very forthcoming. Which one did you enjoy the process the most for?
Well, they were so different that it honestly is so hard to compare them. But what was interesting about the album is I didn't really, in my head, I didn't make a big deal of it. Like in my head, I'm like, it was a big deal, but it didn't feel like so much pressure. And I think I put a lot more pressure on myself for the special.
Yeah.
So I would say the album I probably enjoyed more because I wasn't really seeing it like, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the special, I think I was like, I've got to get this right. And I kind of put a lot of pressure on it, and I only had one show. And the album, I had about 5 shows to get one. And so the special, there were so many challenges and so many obstacles with preparing because it was in the middle of COVID that even though I had fun preparing it, it was stressful.
And do you let that stress get to you, or do you just all...
I let it get to me a little bit. I just remember, I think I do rise to the occasion, because I ended up doing the road anyway and preparing the material, and then I did this house show for like 30 comics. It was like 30 people that came, or even fewer. It might have been like 15 behind this girl's house the night before the special, and so glad I did that because I ended up changing the whole order based on that one show because I suddenly was like, I can't put this at the end. It's not going to work. And so that tiny detail of like just running it for a couple people helped immensely. So it's like those little things you don't realize really matter when you're preparing for a big thing.
So that gets me to, this is the moment where I'm going to bring up the fact that before we hit record, I had you re-listen to a little snippet from the time we talked 5 years ago. Yeah. And I've been re-listening to that episode a couple of times. And maybe it happened just before the snippet I had you listen to, but we were talking about how you trust yourself. You learn to trust yourself to be funny. And that was 5 years ago, and when you taped that special, you really demonstrated the trust in yourself to change the order up, at the last minute. There are things I trust about myself more than others, but I think when I get on stage, I tend to trust myself. Sometimes I have more insecurity off stage, which I think is common with comics, you like trust yourself comedically, but then sometimes you question yourself in other ways. But I think making decisions like that, I can trust myself more. The longer I do it, the more experience I get, and I think that's why you do the road so much, because you learn all these little details of don't do, if you're in this situation, don't do that, and if you're in this situation, try to figure out the order in that way, and you adapt faster. I think that's what I've learned watching comics who've been doing it for like 30 years. They just change so fast. Like if something's not working, they abandon it right away. Whereas if you haven't been doing it that long, you're like, no, this is gonna work. Like you kind of like stick with it. You're like, this is gonna work, and you don't shift as quickly. Yeah. You're more telling the audience where you want to go as opposed to letting the audience tell you where to take the material.
Yeah, I guess that's what you meant by trusting yourself. You trust yourself over the audience sometimes, which is important. Yeah.
So 5 years ago, you were about 5 years into doing stand-up.
That's true.
So now you're...
Good point.
10-year
I'm at 10 years, which is a weird place.
Yeah.
I think it's a strange place in a lot of comics. Like that's the year you're like, you kind of either want to give up or, you either want to give up or you cross over to do a new thing.
Yeah.
Or you have a breakthrough is what I meant.
Yeah.
But so I feel like I'm at the cusp of that where, I get frustrated a lot at this time. I feel stuck a lot, and I'm trying to write a new hour, and it's a long process because I forget that I wrote the first hour in it took me 8 years to write the first hour, and now I'm expecting myself to have another hour in a year, and it's taking longer than that. So, but I am doing another album in June, so I better have that
that's around
material
the corner.
ready.
That's around the corner.
It's really soon. Thanks for reminding me.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, but I think I'm close, but it has a little ways to go.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I keep starting every sentence with 5 years ago.
No, it's interesting. I forget how time goes, you know?
I had asked you because you actually started as an actor, and then you moved into stand-up, and when I asked which did you prefer more, you without missing a beat, you said stand-up.
Yes.
And before we hit record, we were talking about this story that you wrote, and you mentioned how writing, really getting into the writing part. So now I almost feel like you're presented with a choice of 3 things, and which do you like the most?
Oh, that's interesting. Acting, writing, or stand-up?
Yeah.
That's a tough question because
you don't want to offend the other artists.
Yeah, I don't. What I'm learning is that when I'm writing, I feel the most at peace. I feel very peaceful when I'm writing. I don't feel that I'm trying to write for somebody, and I'm not trying to write with a result in mind.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is, because I notice that feeling, I'm trying to transfer that feeling onto stage and not acting. Acting is, I can say acting's not in the running. It's not in the I like acting, but it's not something I'm really pursuing, in a hardcore way.
Yeah.
I think I'm a creator. I think I like creating. I think that would be my answer, actually.
Creating.
I think I stumbled into it. I like creating material and the creative process of that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I encounter a bit of a wall with performing, and even the word performing. I was doing Greg Fitzsimmons' podcast, and he said even the word performing is not it's not being, it's you're performing, and that's what I'm trying to get away from.
Yeah.
So the feeling of writing is nice for me because I'm not performing. I'm not doing it for someone.
Yeah.
And so if I can get that into my stand-up, I think my stand-up that's where I'm looking for the breakthrough, so that I'm not going for the laugh so much. I'm trying to be more real up there, and kind of stumble. I'd like to stumble into laughs, instead of writing for a laugh or going for a laugh or expecting a laugh. I want to get more to a truthful place, and I think writing's been helping me because I'm like, oh, this is what it feels to be truthful, and now if I can get that onto the stage, I think my stand-up will get to the same place that my writing is. But I feel very truthful and honest in my writing.
Yeah, and that's for anybody that hasn't read, and I want to, it's a long title, but I have to get it right, Lost Socks and Other Lost Things. That isn't meant to be a comedic article.
Right.
Or a humor piece. And so exercising that part of that brain is definitely, I see what you mean now when you say I want to take, the true feelings but stumble into humor. And the concept of the lost sock was and this is, I think this is how I would describe your comedy, is there's a charming wit to it.
Yeah.
With the reality of, five years ago, your comedy was very based on dating, and you have dating humor in your special and album.
Right.
But infusing a little bit of that, sometimes the world is heavy and sad.
Yes. And now I'm talking about my dad passed away, and that's in the story too, but those are the jokes that I feel most connected to right now, when I talk about that, because I feel connected to what happened and to the emotional state I was in, and feeling like it's a feeling. And I think sometimes I get in my own way because I'm a thinker, and so I think I can structure the joke in that way. But I think I have to get away from the thinking brain and more into the feeling part of my stand-up.
Create first.
Yeah.
And then...
But I'm trying to write more on stage, because I think if I write in the moment, like the things that come out are more just me talking.
Yeah.
And so, but I still have that side where I structure jokes and I write a joke.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of being like more in the moment, and it's you can see how stand-up is painful for me. I love it in like a masochistic way, but the process is painful because you want to get to this real place, but if the audience isn't laughing, you're not doing your job. So how do you balance that is what I'm trying to figure out. I see people who've been doing, like Mark Maron. You can tell he's not trying to get laughs, He's done with that. He's going to just be honest and real, and he's going to talk about what's going on in his life, and I think that's more my, and same with like Mike Birbiglia, like someone like that, who it's like storytelling and real and who they are up there. So I'm trying to I want to get to that place.
Yeah.
Look, I actually want to go back to...
Sorry if I'm going on and on and on.
No, one of the things that I really love, because I have a special place in my heart for Edith Piaf.
Yes.
So I want to know the story behind naming your album, your special rather, La Vie à Rhodes.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? I feel like you're the only person who's asked me that.
Yes.
And now I just realized, like, how ridiculous. No one's asked me.
Why would nobody ask you that?
I don't know. I think they got very distracted by the cars, so they want to ask about the cars all the time. But no one's been like, tell me about the name, which is something I'm kind of proud of. Well, La Vie en Rose is this Edith Piaf song that's, really romantic and really beautiful, and I love her. And I love French things. I kind of look up to anything French. And then it's just a clever wordplay, because it's basically just the life of Rhodes, so it's just my life. But then there's the other side of it, which is I think the lyrics are about looking at life through rose-colored glasses, or looking at the good side of things, or the good side of love, or So I also had the element in the back of my head that because I'm doing a special for cars in the middle of a pandemic, I'm still trying to rise above the situation. I'm trying to look at the best in the situation.
Yeah.
So there was that element too. And then I had my friend Eva write a song for the end of the special, and she wrote, and it's called Rose-Colored Dreams. And so, and her lyrics are were perfect for it. And so I have all these elements together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put a lot of thought into the title, actually.
And since you have a musical background, I figured, of course, there's the musical connection.
That too. And I was sort of surprised that so many people haven't heard of the song and didn't know. I'm like, so many people are like, what's the name? What's the name?
Covered so many times.
I know.
Even if you don't know the original.
It's almost like over the top done. Like it's in so many movies, and like, so I thought for sure people would know it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows it. It's weird.
That is.
I mean, not nobody. You do, but there's a lot of people that don't know it.
Yeah. It was so funny because when we've been posting like flashback Instagram stories from people who are back here for 2022 Moontower, who we interviewed, and I was patting myself on the back because I found La Vie à Rhodes or Rose to play as the background music, and then I crossed out Rose and put Rose, and I'm like, so
cool.
funny.
Yes.
And then I had just completely forgotten, because Erica, I've been interviewing like 8 people over the course,
God.
and I completely
It
forgot
is totally
that was the
okay.
name of your special.
That's totally okay.
And so when I was reviewing my notes, I'm like, oh my God, I was not witty at all, but she was so smart.
Oh, no, you were. Yeah, you are.
So then it became, okay, well, she's going to appreciate that I did that.
Of course. Yeah, no, I love that. So you're saying you happened to do that for something else?
For when I created the Instagram story to, remind people that we had talked to you 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I threw that music in and then crossed out the rest.
I love that. No, that's so cute. Why is that not clever? That's super.
Well, I thought it was clever, but I didn't realize.
You've been working hard.
I'm
Yeah, you've been
tired.
working hard. Festivals are a lot. It's very overstimulating.
I'm actually really happy that you were my last, because I'm like, I'm gonna love Erica the way that I loved her 5 years ago.
Aww.
And the funny thing that I remembered from our last time is like when I asked you my future word.
Yeah.
I could see you looking around, and then we played this game of lampshade, elevator as your future
Oh, I
word.
forgot that. I've got to listen to the whole thing again. Now you've piqued my interest, because I remember you, but I don't remember everything I said. You know, where you weren't here. No,
No, and we were over at a different, quieter
different.
hotel.
I like the music though. This is great.
You could just come here and listen to all the cool classic things.
Yeah.
All right, well,
And no rush. If you want to go a little long, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want you to feel rushed.
you are the voice, and all right, you're going to educate me. A Tall, Dark, and Grim. Tell me about that.
Tall, Dark, and Grim on Netflix, and I play a raven.
Oh.
And it's basically it's like the dark fairy tale for kids, And my character's named Dottie, and she loves all the gore and guts, and she's it was a really fun character. And Ron Funches was in it too. He played another raven, and Scott Adsit. I never pronounced his name right. Scott Adsit, and he was the narrator raven, and both of them were really funny. And then my character's the girl raven, and just excited about all the guts and gore. So, and has a crush on the dragon. She's like, "Where's the dragon?" So I got to do a real character voice, and it was really fun. It was my first animated show, actually.
Because I'm noticing more and more comics getting into the animation voice
really?
acting.
Yeah, you would think it would be easier to break into, but it's actually quite competitive, and I mean, like anything.
Yeah.
But
it's nice when I do see the comics breaking through into that, because that's untapped. That business, that model will never end. There's
That's
always
true.
going to be.
Especially during COVID, we recorded everything from home, or from the studio. So I never actually met anyone in the cast in person. I just recorded it separate. Wow. We all recorded separate. So it's amazing to see how it comes together after that. But it was a really fun project, actually.
Yeah. Since that was your first voice work for an animation, is that something that you would chase after again versus a traditional acting?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do more. I've auditioned for a couple more. I haven't gotten anything yet, but it was so much fun, and it felt very easy to do, and I feel like it's perfect for me because I have a weird voice already, so I'd love to do it.
And how do you think stand-up lends itself to your ability to be a voice actor?
Well, I think I'm just good in the moment, and I can improvise, and I can make bold choices and go for the laugh. Ron Funches was doing a lot of really funny improv too, and it's just that we can find the laughs, So, and I just think my voice is naturally just kind of a character anyway, so I think I could play young, I could play kids and things like that.
I can see that.
We'll see. Maybe 5 years from now, get another animated thing.
Hopefully not that long.
Yeah, maybe.
I did see during COVID you were doing a lot of touring.
Yes.
I'm not saying that in any judgy type way, but I did notice you took advantage of being out on the road as much and understanding that you were working on an album and special. It's kind of a necessary thing.
Yeah, and also I was performing for 20 people at a time. It's really small, or 70 people, but really small crowds during COVID.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to perform, and I think I justified it because I was like, I don't have a family, you know, like I live alone. I'm not like I didn't feel I was endangering anyone personal to me.
Yeah.
Because I know it was a little controversial when I was doing it at the peak, but I also was like, you know, I was careful, and I just I wasn't performing for that many people, so it felt safe, but also it was an interesting time when no one else was on the road and I was still kind of doing it, because then people were like, things are coming back, and I was like, I've been doing it this whole time. but I did learn a lot. I mean, it was hard to do that, you know, because people were in masks and crowds were pretty somber. It was kind of tough. Yeah. But I had to prepare for the special, so that's why. Yeah. And people kept dropping out. So like one time they were like, "You're the third person we're asking you to do." You know, I was like, 3 people dropped out. So yeah. I think every comic now has had COVID at least once. You know, they all got it. So now it's very safe because everyone's had it.
Yeah. Well, some people get it multiple times, and that's like, yikes.
Yeah.
Did you get into the online shows at all? I
did some Zoom. That was at the very beginning. I did a bunch of those. Yeah. And then I got really burnt out and never wanted to do it again. The weirdest one that I did was I did a reunion for these women who were very sweet ladies who were in their 70s. But one of them was a big fan. And they were a small group, and they were all on Zoom, and they were having their reunion. And then she was so excited she found me. And I did all this like depressing material, and I wasn't the right material to do, but that's what I've been working on. And then afterwards, they didn't realize I was still logged on, and they were like, they were super nice, but it was like kind of like silent. And then one of them just goes, "She seemed nice," and then another one goes, "Where did you find her?" Like I was like a stray cat they let in. And then I was like, I've got to log off. This isn't right, you know. And then I logged off, but I was like, that was awkward. Oh my God. They just were confused. They were just a little confused because I think it was the combination. They were all like quite older, and so I could feel they were being maternal. They were kind of like worried about me. And then only one of them knew who I was. And then the others were just like, why is she here? And it was so funny looking at their faces because they were all like, but then the one fan, she was like really laughing and really. The others were kind of like looking at me a little concerned, like concerned moms, you know, like, is she okay? Why is she talking at us? And then another one I did a surprise 40th birthday for a friend of a friend, and so and it was a huge family, and they were all on together looking at each other and like saying hi, like, "Oh, hi grandpa, hi," you know, all the kids. And then the guy whose birthday it is, they had surprised him by all being there, said, "I have COVID." And he says, "I have COVID," and then the wife goes, "And we have a stand-up comic." And so now everybody's freaking out that he has COVID, but then I have to come on, and now I'm talking to these strangers who have no idea why I'm there. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do 15 minutes. And they're all like just worried about him. It's his birthday, and he has COVID, and this was when they were still scared, you know, really scared. Some people are fans. And so they think other people know who I am, but then they realize nobody knows who she is, and this is an awkward situation. Yeah. But, I mean, they were all really nice, but it was just like weird timing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like surprise, and then surprise.
I think those may be some of the funniest stories I've heard out of
Oh, really? Zoom shows. Oh, I did I've done everything. Every kind of thing.
Hopefully I'm not gonna cry.
Uh-oh.
And hopefully you're not gonna cry.
Oh no, we're gonna both cry now.
How did the Lost Socks story come about? As far as getting the opportunity to do the writing and then getting it published.
That's an interesting question. Well, I started writing on Medium, like my blogs, during COVID. So like I wrote one called Coffee and Men, and that did really well. So then I started blogging, and I wrote a bunch of those, and they were all very first-person, personal, truthful stories. And then the Lost Socks one was actually, when my dad was dying, or after he died, I was home visiting my mom, and I was there for like a month, and I just started writing, and I was thinking I was going to write a book, and I wrote like 70 pages, and then I was like, what is this? I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I realized this is a short story. This isn't a book. It's a short story. So I wheedled it down to like 7 pages after 70 pages. And I was like, I think this is a short story where I'm comparing the loss of a relationship and the loss of my dad in like a very short kind of, I don't know what you would how you describe what it is, but it just felt more like, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was meant to be that long. And so I ended up just making it a short story, and then I sat on it for a while, and I showed it to my uncle who's a writer, and he liked it, and he gave me some feedback, and then I did some edits, and then I submitted it to the New Yorker, and they didn't respond. And I submitted it to the Atlantic, they didn't respond. And so then I wrote on Twitter, actually, does anyone have advice? Because I was just sitting on it, and I was like, I'd like to put it out there, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know much about short story publishing places. And so I said, does anyone know where I can publish a short story? And somebody wrote to me and then recommended Pipeline. And this woman read it like the next day, and she's like, I love this. I connected so much to it. And she has this website, and she published it. And it was like happened instantaneously after I just wrote on Twitter, does anyone know somebody? Wow. And yeah, it's not the New Yorker, but I still feel like it's a really nice, like they make the layout look really nice, and they get a lot of traffic, and I really liked the woman I think she's a writer herself and supports a lot of female artists, and so yeah, it just all happened really fast. Once I guess you can just do that sometimes. You can be like, does anyone know someone who would just publish a short story? And so then because I felt like because it's a little fictionalized, I didn't want to put it on Medium. Medium feels very truthful. More bloggy to me, more like a blog. Yeah. So I'm keeping those separate, since it's slightly fictionalized.
Do you think you'd still want to write a book at some point?
I would really like to write a book. I'm still trying to figure out what it's going to be. Yeah. And it feels so intimidating. Yeah. But I've sat down and tried. I think I just have to figure out what it is. I have to see it. Picture what it is. But I think that is a goal of mine. In 5 years, I'm going to write a book. That's what I should say.
There we go.
5 years from now, we're going to sit down at Moontower, and I'll be like, I wrote a book.
Yay!
Okay, that's a goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a goal. Do you write, too?
Well, I write some of the articles that go with our
podcast. Oh, yeah, of course.
Episodes.
Yeah, of course you're a writer. Yeah.
I actually, I hate doing this.
No,
but
I asked.
I was asked, Comedy Wham was asked to write an article in the Austin Chronicle, which is like the LA Current, to recommend big names and 5 Austin acts to see at Moontower.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's printed on one page of the
That's so cool. Newspaper. So did you do it this time?
Yeah, I was asked. It was the first time they'd asked.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
See? You're a writer. That's amazing. There you go.
Yeah. So,
congratulations.
It's cool to be recognized by them that we're contributing and we see what's happening in the comedy scene, and
that's great.
Yeah.
Then you can just say, yes, I'm a writer. Yeah.
But it's really, really hard not to qualify it.
I know. I do the same thing when I'm like, am I a writer? I've written blogs. Does that count? But I think
it's on the internet. Is it really real?
I know. Yeah, that's what I have trouble knowing anymore. But that's all there is anymore. So it has to be real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. I mean, stand-up is real, even though a room full of 60 to 500 people, saw it, and then they vanished into the night.
Exactly.
It
still happens.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking, how some comics are so big now, they're doing stadiums and things like that, Tom Segura or whatever, and I have friends who open for them and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, isn't it interesting how even if you bomb for 60,000 people, it still doesn't really matter. It's not like anyone's gonna know. No one's gonna be like, oh, did you hear? It's just interesting how like even like you put so much pressure to do well all the time, but then you think if someone bombed in, you know, at some stadium tonight, but we're not going to hear about it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, did you hear?
Yeah.
Just so there is kind of like a safety in that with comedy where unless you're maybe like super famous, like if you're Chappelle, but he's never going to bomb, so no, it's never happened yet.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want people to know about you? I didn't spend a lot of any time asking you about the competition.
That's
I
okay.
did the Bring the Funny.
I feel like it was a couple years ago now, so.
Yeah, it was 2019.
I don't know. I mean, I guess we could just say that I'm gonna be doing my next album in June at Acme, so that's exciting.
Where is Acme?
Acme's in Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Oh,
yeah. So I'm excited about. It's one of my favorite clubs, Acme. So I'm excited about that, and I don't know what else is going on really besides just the road. You know, I'm just kind of like pounding the road and you know, trying to write my own show or film. I'm working on a film with a friend. So.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So everything's pretty much about my dead dad now. Pretty much all of my material, like my stand-up, my blogging, and the movie are all about my dad.
Yeah. Aww.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to do the timeline, and I think if we were talking in April of 2017, I lost mine in June.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. You know, we're in that club, and eventually everybody's in that club.
I know.
Their dad, so.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, it is. You do connect more now to people who've lost a parent because you kind of think, oh, I didn't know anything before, about what that's like.
Right.
And you have this weird illusion of permanency with your parents, I think. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, unless, you know, I have friends who did unfortunately lose parents very young. That's different, but as you get older, you just think, oh, they're always going to be around. Yeah. Like, I don't understand, you know, even as they age, you just don't really, can't quite fathom it until it happens.
Yeah. I'm going to start crying now.
Oh, so sorry. That was my goal. I was like, wait, we didn't cry earlier, so why are we got to cry at the end? Go out strong. Do you know I have a hard time crying on cue, like when I did acting school?
Oh, yeah?
That's when I realized, like, comedy's more my thing. Because crying, I found it so hard to access that emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized. Comics, like, we all push down that emotion, you know? A lot of the time.
Yeah,
it's hard to cry on cue.
All right, well, let's do a little bit of a way back.
Okay.
Back to that 2017. And one of my things is I ask what is one word to describe your past and then your future at the end, and I'll revisit with you. Your past word 5 years ago was experimental.
Oh.
Your future word was productive.
Oh.
If you want to change your past word, you can, but the past, you know, is always the past.
Yeah.
But I do like to ask for how you feel about the future word.
Future word? What's my future? Productive?
It was productive.
Yeah, I think I'd like a different future word.
No!
Yeah. Are you saying that, like, I have to say whether it was accurate, or?
Oh, that would be fun. You could tell me. I mean, I could see on paper.
Yeah, I guess I've been productive.
Yeah.
More productive than I realized. I feel like I procrastinate a lot, but yeah, those are good. I think those are good words.
Yeah.
They're a little bit literal, you know?
Yeah.
Little on the nose.
Yeah. So do you want to think about one word for the future?
For the
Do we want to
future?
talk about the lampshade or whatever you see looking around?
Is that what I did last time? I looked at things and I just said random words?
Yeah, because you had a hard time thinking about what word you wanted to settle on.
Oh, really?
And it became this whole game.
Huh. I think I'd like authenticity to be a word for the future. I'd like to find what that means to me.
Yeah.
What authenticity is.
It's great. I think we should all strive for that.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's more internal. Productive feels very external to me. Feels very like I need to get things.
Yeah.
And authenticity feels more like I'm going inward more.
Yeah. And I think as we age, we reflect a little bit more on things. And
Yeah.
you're at this 10-ish year mark of being a comic, and, you know, you can be more reflective.
Yeah, I'm looking more for answers inside than like on the like when you said, oh, it's on paper, it looks productive, but I think not to sound cheesy again, but the work is like more internal that I have to do now. That's what it feels like. More internal battles that I have to fight. Or stop fighting, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Presents Erica Rhodes Volume 2.
Wonderful.
Hopefully we don't have to wait 5 years,
No,
but minimum
maybe
5.
next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us where we can find you on social media and promote your projects.
I'm just at Erica Rhodes on Twitter and Erica Rhodes Instagram, and then my website, which I still need to update, is ericarhodescomedy.com.
Okay. And I do want to say, I actually give you credit for being one of those Twitter accounts that is always so positive and encouraging, and you answer everyone. And
that's
you know,
so
Twitter
nice.
is
I know, it's
often
pretty
referred
toxic.
as the cesspool of the world, and you are always so positive.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
Even when people are trying to troll you.
I know,
you're
some
like,
people can be mean randomly.
Yeah.
I don't take the bait.
Good job. on
Thank
that.
you.
We hope you've enjoyed learning about how Erica got to be the comedic genius that you heard today, just as much as I am.
Not sure about that.
This has been Comedy Wham Presents Erica Rhodes. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thanks again, Erica.
So much, Valerie.